bit over a year ago, the Nintendo 3DS launched, and just a little bit after the 3DS launched, all of a sudden, groups of people with StreetPass decided to come together and play video games. And we're here with some of the two biggest faces in StreetPass in the United States and maybe even the world. We have here Jordan and Josh, the creators of StreetPass New York City, StreetPass DC, and the StreetPass Network. Now, what made you decide to create your StreetPass groups?
StreetPass DC really evolved from just a simple desire to complete the puzzles in the StreetPass game. All I wanted to do was get some of my friends together, maybe out at the Washington Monument, so we could come together once a month and pass along the new puzzle pieces we got, and that was it. Little did I know that this was going to blossom into something not only in DC, but LA, Seattle, New York.
I was one of the people who I wanted the 3DS as soon as I saw it, E3 2010. I'm like, it has Kid Icarus on it. It looks awesome. I want to have it. And I was also one of those crazy people where I loved the tag feature in Metroid Prime Hunters, and I'd walk around and not get anybody. So when I heard that there'd be a groups forming up to meet to make sure that we have like exchange data and we can meet people, I'm like, oh cool, I want to meet other people with 3DSs in New York, and if someone could set something up like that, I would gladly join that. And found out that after waiting for a month, I kept looking online, no New York group at all, which shocked me considering how many gamers there are in New York. And I was like, well, I'll print out some flyers, I'll make a Twitter and a Facebook, and if I get 6 people, that would be great. If I get 12, that would be an amazing, fantastic success. And I was at the launch, we handed out stuff, and it completely went absolutely bonker insanity ever since, beyond my wildest imaginations.
And we're now at 140 groups across the world. We've got 13,700 members worldwide. I mean, this is a legitimate phenomenon. It's a thing.
Yeah. All right, let's move further. Unfortunately, it seems that some people don't like fire hazards.
We are very flammable.
We are very inflammable, apparently. All right. What game currently do you think fully utilized the 3DS the most so far?
You know, there's a lot of, I won't say belittling, but I will say that it is not put up on the pedestal that it deserves to be. Nintendogs plus cats.
Oh yeah.
There are so many functions built within that game that take advantage of the many hardware functions that are available in the 3DS that people look over it because, oh, it's just another pet sim. No, it's not just another pet sim. It's something that's actually robust and glorious and gives you a wonderful feel for all that you can do with the 3DS, whether it's StreetPass, whether it's Spot Pass, whether it's the AR card functionality that's built into it, whether it's the transfer of Mii's. You get that full experience there.
Yeah, it's really hard to say because the holy trinity that our group has come up with is, Mario Kart 7, Resident Evil Revelations, and Kid Icarus Uprising. But if I want to throw a title that a lot of people don't know, that might not know they have StreetPass, but it's actually really good, is the Dead or Alive Dimensions game. Not only because it actually does have like gyro control in the menu, which was a shock when we turned it on and things, but it actually, I think, has one of the most integrating StreetPass functions where when you exchange data, the game monitors the way you play. So when you StreetPass, you end up fighting an AI opponent that plays exactly like you. So they get to play you even when you're not online. And we've been waiting for more games that really integrate their StreetPass function directly into the main gameplay like that. And I'd love to see more examples like that.
All right. If you could change one thing about the 3DS itself, what would it be?
We're going to get fired by Nintendo, aren't we?
Well, and then, actually,
no, I didn't say you would force it to. I mean, just a suggestion.
Actually, he jokingly says, we'll get fired by Nintendo, but this is actually a good opportunity to clarify something that's a very common misperception, is we are not Nintendo employees. We're actually volunteers of our own volition, and we're fanboys, just like you. And we came together with an idea to do a group, just for the heck of it. And Nintendo likes what we do, and they support us very robustly, but at the end of the day, we're just like you.
The absolute true grassroots movement we really have here. It's like we formed this. It was a shock to us. It was a shock to Nintendo, and gracefully enough, Nintendo came in and really it's amazing to see a big company supports fans the way it does. So do you want to answer the question first?
I guess I'll take the obvious answer, which is the second circle pad. I mean, it's the one hardware revision that has been released, and will we actually see a new model of a 3DS? I don't know. I haven't heard anything one way or the other. My speculation is just like your speculation, but I think that we've seen the enhancement it brings, so there's potential there.
To be perfectly honest, I'm like 3DS is like 99% perfect for me, but there's little points here and there, and the big question is like a big difference between like hardware improvements or software improvements. On hardware side, with the Circle Pad Pro, I actually like, even though that's bigger, that it more conforms to your hands. Since a lot of us play for very long, corners we end up getting what we call Sunday palm, where it digs in. We have like stigmata, so that would be nice, as well as the scratching issue, which my unit currently has, where it's a little bit too raised up, and I didn't know that until too late. Software-wise is a base thing of that. I have so many friend code friends that just having 100 limit for friend codes, if it could be 300, that would just be amazing. So that would be, if that happened, I would throw my phone out the window and never look back.
How would you feel StreetPass has changed the climate of Nintendo gamers nowadays?
Well, one of the things that we talked about on the panel that we just did was the notion that StreetPass is bringing people back together in a way that you haven't seen in many decades, honestly, since the closure of the arcade as a phenomena. You've seen people game together, but they're gaming together on Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, those kinds of means. It's still remote. StreetPass, because of its very nature, brings people together, and that transformative experience, and I mean, it's building new friendships, it's building new families, it's building new communities, and that's been the most beautiful thing to see.
To compound that, one of my, if I have to have like flimsy goals for StreetPass NYC, what I'd like to see and stuff, as a gamer growing up, I've had to encounter a lot of very bad negative stereotypes about myself and my fellow gamers, and something I've been trying to improve is to basically not only show people like what gamers are actually like in their natural habitat besides what you see on TV and in movies and stuff, but also to like expand like what gamers do. Like when you think of gamers, you think of the person sitting in the basement of their parents' basement playing Call of Duty, yelling extremities, like they're 4. And there are people that are like that, but most people I know aren't. And when people look at commercials and stigmas like that, they're like, that's not me, that's not who I do. So going out in public and playing, I've actually had, if I can do a quick story, I had a parent on that first meeting. He brought a kid over, and he was extremely, like, he had a huge shyness problem. His mother had never met gamers that was older than him. He's like 8 years old, and he has followed me on the Twitter, and I'm gonna start crying. He actually said that, like, you're like, I think doing this, like, I feel like you're my idol. And so I was telling him that I grew up with a lot of shyness, and like, people saying about, oh, gaming is just a fad thing, why don't you get a real thing to do, why don't you like football? And I'm like, no, be yourself, be proud of yourself. There are other people like that out with you. And I asked him, what's your favorite augmented reality card? And he said Mario, and I got a big huge Mario reality card, and I gave it to him, like, it's yours. And his mom was so floored of like how civil me and the rest of the gamers were, that she's one of our regular people that constantly come to our meetings, because she was like, I didn't know that this is what gamers were like, and now I don't have to worry about my son growing up with gaming. So I think if, getting that light out there, this is, we as gamers in public, this is what we do, I think that's going to really change of the perception of what a gamer is.
Now, Joshua, I know you've been working with the Smithsonian with Arts of Video Games exhibit that just happened. Yeah. How has that been? Can you tell us a little bit about your involvement with that? Is this something you just showed up, or did you actually contact them about it?
The way it all came to pass, actually, was I got in touch with them to see if they would have any willingness last year to host StreetPass DC meetups, and they welcomed it with open arms. As we got closer to the exhibition opening, they and I were engaged in a dialogue about, can we maybe get some volunteers out of StreetPass DC to help with the exhibition and staffing issues and things like that. Basically, one thing went to another, and I'm just a volunteer, and I love the heck out of it, and we've had really great attendance and turnout for a beautiful exhibition. And if you're in DC before the end of September this year, I strongly encourage you to come by and check it out.
I'm definitely going to try and make that, because if there's one thing absolutely that our New York members are completely jealous of, it's the idea of a full-scale museum. Although for Rhythm Thief coming up, which we're all excited for because a lot of us are big Elite Beat Agent fans, and this is like, oh, this trinity of like rhythm gaming. There is actually a museum in Astoria that's called the Museum of Moving Images, and they actually do have a museum wing dedicated to gaming, and we're going to meet up there for Rhythm Thief and have like a little fun type of activity there. It's an important thing that he brought up real quick is that he talked about one of the things that we talked about at the panel, which is that to utilize your space and not just like where the gamers hang out, but like where are cool things in your neighborhood, in your city that is unique to your own place that, you know, that would be really cool to hang out. And one of the coolest places that we got to hang out that people still talk about is when we went to Coney Island in the middle of the summer, and it's like, wait, gamers coming into the sunlight? Like what's the, but a lot of people did, and we had tons of fun. We were playing 3DS and volleyball and swimming, and, you know, it's things like that. It's not necessarily like what does Coney Island have to do with gaming besides skeetball and some of the arcades, but it's just a cool place to hang out with. It's a place we normally don't hang out, so why not?
What's the best and worst part about working on a StreetPass group?
The best part by far is that sense of community that we've built and those friendships that a year ago these people didn't know each other, and now they're very fast friends. And we've got, you know, boyfriends bringing their girlfriends, and the girlfriends are getting more into it than the boyfriends are, and you know, little boys bringing their dad, and same thing happens where the dad gets more into it than the little boys are. I mean, just seeing that build over time is beautiful. Is there a bad aspect to it? Well, I mean, it takes a lot of time. I mean, I have a full-time job, and there are things that I do on the side in addition to this. So it takes effort, and you do have to be conscious in setting that time aside to set up even a small meetup. It takes effort. But that being said, it's totally worth it.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but the payoff is absolutely like amazing just on an individual level. I would say the absolute best part is, you know, seeing all these amazing, interesting people who show up from all these diverse backgrounds and ages and sexes and gaming flavors, and also just to like, I was amazed of how many times people cite that StreetPass NYC and the admin team are like a huge inspiration for them, not just in gaming but just like day-to-day life. Like there's one person who was like, I was ready to cry when he saw it online, that he was just like, like I was an absolute recluse. I didn't trust in people because I went through a really bad relationship, and after going, hanging out with people at StreetPass, I realized that, there's people out there that legitimately cared for me, even though it was just simple gaming. And I was like, wow, the hardest thing, there's two minor ones. One is, this one could be a plus and a minus, is that apparently, at least in New York City, we're so good at organizing events, particularly launch parties, that people constantly mistake us for actually being a wing of Nintendo. Just that unique to New York is a big problem, is space. Space and zoning and context, because most gaming companies that you'd want to work with, if you want to work with them, are in California, and they only come out to events, so it's really hard to do contact. And everything in New York, Boston, it's about the drinking age. In New York, it's about space. Like, do you own this space? Are you allowed to be here? And once that's fine, that's good. But New York is so filled with stuff that it's really hard to find space. But we manage.
It's an efficient place, New York City. All right. If you would make a game that used StreetPass features, what would that feature be?
Well, what I will say is I was asked a similar question last year right after E3, and this was just after the announcement of Smash Brothers coming to 3DS at some point. And I will say this. If I had the opportunity to have any amount of input on Super Smash Brothers or whatever they're going to tag on for 3DS, I would say really, for a lot of people, myself included, part of the fun of Super Smash Brothers is seeing who guest stars in any of the games. And you can't get everyone that you want into the proper playable roster. I mean, we all were bemoaning the fact that Mega Man didn't make it into the last version, things like that. So maybe as an add-on to what they're doing for the 3DS, they could have a StreetPass functionality where more guest stars have the ability to work their way into the game. They don't have to be playable as such. Maybe it's something akin to Super Street Fighter 4, but there's potential there.
This is something I constantly thought of, and as someone who used to do design, there's a million ideas, but I think the one I immediately thought of, and my favorite one, is I would love an RPG where you have your amazing main quest story, but then in the main town there's a rumor pub, and you go in there and people that use StreetPass, their Mii's are in there, and when you talk to them, there's yeah, there was someone who ran off into the woods, and you take a quest on them, and this stuff would be spot passed into let's say half the population that buys the game. So as you StreetPass, you start developing these side quests that actually does have a plot, and the more you tag, the more you uncover that side quest plot. Tying that function directly in the main game, I think, would be a very interesting thing. Yeah, I have more, but that's my one.
Spoken like a true gamer. Yeah, keep all those ideas close to your chest. You never know what's going to happen. Oh, yeah. And I'll end with a bit of a generic question. What game are you most looking forward to coming out this year? Whether it's on 3DS, Wii U, or maybe something else.
Oh, man.
I'm laying the hard ones at the end here.
Where to begin? I mean,
Oh yeah, so much. I don't know. I can answer that question. I don't even know.
Xenoblade came out yesterday, so I've been here since Xenoblade released, so I haven't played Xenoblade yet, and that's kind of tearing me up inside. That being said, I am very much looking forward to Heroes of Ruin. I think it's going to be the most robust use of the Nintendo 3DS's features yet, so there's a lot of potential there and a lot of fun, and I've played it several times on the demo floor, and I wish you guys could demo it too, but you never know. They may push something on the eShop. Last Story, also for the Wii.
Game.
Yes, that's going to be a beautiful capstone for the system.
Yeah, I actually voted Last Story last year when it came out of Japan as like the best game of that year. Like even at Skyward Sword, I thought that was amazing. Like you said, there's just so many to begin. But a quick 3 thoughts. Obviously, Heroes of Ruin because I love tweaking stuff, and I used to play Diablo 2, and I was a big fan of Gauntlet Legends in the arcade. So it's something that combines two of those together. My girlfriend is going to be really mad at me. But quick 2 ones that a lot of people are looking forward to. I'm actually a really big Fatal Frame fan, and Spirit Camera and what they're doing with it with the augmented reality notebook and tying that in is just phenomenal. Like that's just an amazing experience. And then for like a future thing, huge Aliens fan, huge Gearbox fan. They're making Aliens Colonial Marines, Wii U, trying to sense aliens and face huggers jumping on you. That is my launch game.
That is a launch game. And out of curiosity, when's your next major events coming up so we can tell people on the internets?
I would just say check with us on Facebook. That's our main presence. So facebook.com/StreetPass DC. Click on the events tab and you'll see everything that's coming up, whether it's next week, next month, or next year.
We're going to have a website in the middle of this month, but in the meantime, if you type in StreetPass NYC on Google, I've tried this. The entire front page is Google is nothing but our stuff. So Twitter, Facebook, blog, that covers it all. I will say that our next absolutely confirmed major meetup is our 1-year anniversary on April 18th, which we're going back to Union Square where it all began, and we hope to have some fun stuff and cool giveaways to reward the amazing people that have helped out over the years. And then our next big thing that we're going to attempt to try is a Mario Tennis game where there's actually a ping pong club in New York City, so we're going to have a ping pong tournament with a Mario Tennis tournament, and both will have trophies. So I can't wait to do stuff like that. And of course, there's all these games I'm thinking about that are just in the planning stages, but I'm like jumping up and down waiting to do
and
them.
if you're not in DC, if you're not in New York, just go to StreetPassNetwork.com, and it's all organized there. The 140 groups we have, it's broken down by continent, by state, by city. If you don't live in New York or DC, there's probably a group out there that's accessible to you.
Yeah, every time I've had people when I said, hey, you want to join StreetPass NYC? And they're like, oh, I'm not from around here. And I'm like, literally throw a dart. I'm sure there's a group. Where are you? Colorado. Well, I'm just throwing it. Colorado. There's a group for that. You know, like it's like that type of stuff like happens all the time. Yeah. And then if you don't have one, it's really easy to start up your own. Just set Twitter, Facebook, tell people about it. You'll meet some awesome people and exchange awesome game data.
Well, hey, and now, excuse me, I gotta go check my street passes. So check out their sites, and I'll be on my way.